Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be in my kitchen. I'm going to be sharing with you some ways to make your food go longer, last for longer, some kind of money saving food hacks. I feel like at the moment we obviously don't want to be going to the supermarkets or putting extra strain on delivery drivers for food deliveries. However, we do still need to eat, so hopefully you'll get some inspiration from this video. Just showing you some hacks around the kitchen for making your food last longer, staying fresher for longer, what you can do with repurposing food. I have done heaps of foodie videos over on my channel, so I'll leave a little playlist linked in the description bar if you want to see any meal plans or menu ideas or kind of what I eat in a day, that sort of thing. I am going to get on with the video and talk you through all the different ways to make your food last longer. I really hope that you like it and you get something from it, and if you do enjoy my content, I would really love to have you here in this community. I upload 3 times a week and I'd love to have you here as a subscriber, so just hit that little subscribe button down there and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any videos from me. It really does make a huge difference to my channel. But anyway, let's get on with the video. So taking you to my freezer first. So some of the things you may not know you can freeze. We always freeze our bread, even just a slice that's been used. There was a few more slices than that, but just when we need to buy the bread but we know that it won't last very long, if we do that, we put it into a freezer bag and just pop it in the freezer, and then we can use it when we need it. If you're buying full loaves, make sure you chop it up first or chop it into portions, otherwise you won't be able to get it apart. The next is you guys know I absolutely love these. These are the chopped herbs and spices. It just means it lasts so much longer. I have so many of them. Garlic, more ginger, coriander, chili. I have so many of them, and I use them in most of my meals, most of my cooking. It just means that they're not going to go bad on you and be a waste of money and go bad in the fridge. The next thing, I always slice up limes. If they're going to go bad, I slice them up and then I pop them into a freezer bag like this. These are great for drinks, maybe a cheeky margarita or just water or something like that. It just stops you from wasting a whole fruit if it's going to go bad. Also, what I chop up a lot of is herbs. So if I haven't managed to, oh my gosh, that is disgusting. One's leaked in here. I need to clean that out. But I always chop up my herbs and pop them in here. Another way of doing it is putting them into oil and into ice trays. And then you can just have a little kind of flavoured oil whenever you need it, just to chuck into cooking. Another lot here. This is actually kale. So I always chop up leafy greens if I'm not going to use them, but I don't want to waste them, and I just chuck them in if I'm going to use them in a stew like spinach or something like that. Another one down here I've just spotted, it actually probably needs to go in the bin. It's in here so long I didn't realise it was here. Is a banana. So you can throw these into smoothies. I usually chop them. I don't know why that's not been chopped, but that one definitely needs to go. It's been at the bottom of this pit of green. I need to clean that out. So those are some of the things that are really, really good for having in the freezer. While we're here, let me show you this. This is edamame beans. These are great for stir fries and salads and things like that. These are bought frozen and they're 2.5 minutes and they're cooked. I always pop those in with noodles and things like that with a few different herbs and spices. So that's a great way of having something in your freezer. I also have this here, which is butternut squash, but equally you can chop your own up and pop it in the freezer, and then it's just going to make your food last so much longer. I think it probably goes without saying, another wonderful way of using up old fruit is making banana bread. Okay, good way of storing your leafy greens. This is everything like lettuce, spinach, broccoli, things like that. You can pop them into some kitchen towel, and that's just going to absorb all of the moisture so it doesn't go kind of wilted and mouldy. And then you can just literally put it together like this, pop it back into its bag, and then pop it into the fridge. And then it just makes sure that it can last a lot longer than it would do without the tissue. So with tomatoes, if you're finding these are actually okay, but if they start to go a little bit mouldy, not mouldy, but you know, a little bit soft and wrinkly, and you don't want to waste them, chuck them into soups or roast them up and whiz them up into a blender just to make a sauce. There's so many uses for them once they go past their best if you don't want to eat them fresh. So with your garlic, it loves being in the dark in a dry place like this. You could put some tissue paper in it as well, but we just pop it into a cupboard like this in a box, and you could pop a lid on it so that it doesn't smell. It doesn't really kind of give off any scent anyway, but it just lasts a lot longer in the cupboard like that. This stuff is actually about 2 months old. As you can see, it is kind of starting to sprout there, but it just lasts absolutely ages. We don't have dairy milk, but we do have lots of kind of oatmeal or just replacements. These are great, but I wanted to show you that obviously you could get dairy milk as UHT, which would obviously last so much longer. So if you do drink dairy milk, then it's still an option to get these for the cupboard for when you run out of fresh. Make sure you're storing your cereals in an airtight container such as this. They just last a lot longer, and it means that they are fresher when you need them. These ones are not actually opened yet, but once we open them, we will transfer them into a container like that. Obviously, slow cooker meals do take a lot less effort and a lot less prep, I find. I can just chuck it all in. If you wanted a video that is slow cooker meals or kind of store cupboard meal ideas at the moment, then let me know in the comments, or anything similar to like that, let me know. But what I love about the slow cooker is generally it does more than one meal, so either you can batch cook and freeze it, or you can just make sure you've got enough for 2 nights. So it just means you're using less ingredients but getting double the meals out of it. So another good thing to have in your freezer, these are obviously quite spendy, but it does mean that we have fresh vegetables, well, frozen fresh vegetables whenever we need them. So we have got the parsnips and cauliflower cheese, and obviously peas is quite a normal kitchen staple for the freezer, but it just means that if we can't get to the shops, we are always going to have vegetables in the freezer. So it's a really good idea to keep things like this into the freezer if you have the space. So if you have some leafy greens like this and that you're not going to be able to use the whole lot, I usually do eat a bag of this every couple of days. But if you're not going to be able to get through it, I would suggest whizzing up individual amounts, like kind of a quarter of a bag at a time, and then popping them into a freeze bag or a freeze pot, and then you can just pop them into smoothies if you want to make them throughout the week. So it just means that you're using them up without having to waste any extra food. So a good way of getting some fish into your diet, if you do eat it, is to have tuna chunks or salmon or mackerel. Loads of different fish can come in tins, which obviously last so much longer. It's a great way of getting protein and loads of vitamins into your diet if you do eat fish, but they last forever. They go off 2022, which is so long away. So obviously just think outside of getting fresh stuff just for when you need it in the cupboard to reach for. So I always have a can of coconut milk or 2 in the cupboard. These are great for if you don't have kind of access to fresh milk or cream or anything that you might usually use. We use this anyway, being mainly plant-based, so we just chuck that into curries and stews and things like that just to fill them out and make them nice and creamy. Another idea here is to keep all your butters upside down because they stop them from splitting. We have quite a few. We've got smooth for George, crunchy for me, and almond for smoothies and for stew sometimes. But yeah, keep them upside down. It just stops them from separating, which keeps them a little bit fresher for longer. It's just a little bit nicer when you open it up, able to spread it onto your toast quickly. I know this is really, really hard to get hold of. If you can't get hold of bread, you can make your own. We just use that, and then I've got quite a few sachets of yeast. Again, it's quite old. I haven't checked the dates on these. When is that? Oh, October this year, so that's fine. But it just means you can make your own bread if you can't get hold of it. If you do eat meat normally and you're a meat eater, then you may well find that you can't get hold of meat at the moment, or it's not lasting very long. One tip I would say is to freeze it into chunks so that if you want to use it, you can obviously take it out in a portion rather than having to defrost a whole joint of meat and only need a little portion of it. So think about that. But also, if you are a meat eater and you are looking to find alternative sources of protein, so many of them come in a can, which is obviously brilliant for lasting a long time. Things like cannellini beans, chickpeas, lentils, split peas, almonds, cashew nuts, peanuts, edamame beans like the frozen ones I showed you, peas, oats, quinoa, sunflowers. There's so many sources of protein if you can't get hold of meat and you do normally eat it, that you can switch it up for and have in the cupboard for when you need it. Another really good idea is to grow your own fruit and vegetables. It's not going to crop just yet, but it will do by kind of early summer, so it's a really great time to plant them. We got some seeds from Lidl, but you can buy some online. I'll leave some links in the description bar for you. But it just means that you are able to go out into the garden and pick your own fruit and veg. We usually have loads of raspberries because our raspberry bush is quite a few years old now, so it really does fruit well. But we just grew a load of veg into little seed pots, and then we're transferring it into the bigger pots. But it's just a great entertaining thing for the children, but also it means that you're going to be able to be a little bit more self-sufficient come the summer. We've got heaps of spices up here, so if you can't get hold of kind of jarred sauces, you can always make your own, which you can make into a paste and freeze, or just use there and then, or just have it in the cupboard. but there's loads of different herbs obviously you can buy and spices, and it's just a nice way of having a go-to flavoursome paste without having to go to the shop. These are also great for having lots of extra protein. This one is great in breadcrumbs. It's like a chicken tender, and this one is great as like a pulled pork. Really, really yummy and easy to cook as well. I know it's been really hard to get hold of pasta in the shops, but it's so easy to make. All you need is flour, an egg, some salt and a little bit of olive oil, and you can just make it into a dough, squish it all up together, make it a dough, roll it out, slice it thinly or whatever shapes you want to do, and then just boil it for 10 minutes. It's so easy, fresh pasta whenever you want it. Raspberries like this, obviously you need to wash them, but then if they sit in this water, they're just going to go really mildew. So drain that off and then pop them into a Tupperware bowl or something that you can seal in some tissue paper just to get off any excess water, and then you can pop them into the fridge and they're going to last a lot longer. So there we go guys, I hope you got something from that video and you learned something, maybe you found it valuable. If you did, I would love it if you wanted to share it with someone that you might think found it interesting as well. If you have any tips you would like to share, then leave a comment down below for everyone else to read. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!